Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year, and welcome to the first episode of 2020 for my I Am Enough TV channel here on YouTube. This is Mike Pastano, also known as Iron Eagle Mike, to a lot of my friends and family over the years, as that is my social media nickname. Anyway, the title of this episode series is really about myself and discovering who I am, my past, my ancestry, getting to know deep inside, where did I come from? Like, what is my true history? So it's titled, that's why it's titled, Who Am I? And then you're probably going to wonder, okay, well, why is it I Am Maharlikan? And it all begins really from the day, even before I was born, in 1967. So just to give perspective, yes, I was born and raised in the Philippines, in Manila, and I lived there until 1989. Now, in between, I traveled and I actually lived in Dallas, Texas from 1984 to 1985, studied 1 year college there, and then came back to the Philippines and finished my college studies there. Then the whole family moved to Canada in 1989. So I've actually lived more than half of my life here in North America as a what they call here Filipino. Now, I studied Philippine history when I was in college in Ateneo, and I didn't really think a lot about that. I knew though that I was very resistant to the Spanish language then. I just felt that it was something that why should I be obligated to learn the language of my ancestors' conquerors? It's my country's conquerors. So, because the Philippines was named after King Philip II, I think in the late 1571 onwards. So I don't know the exact date, but you can look it up on Wikipedia or on Google, and you can see that the Philippines was basically named, after King Philip. And basically the Spanish ruled over us from their, through their, their Mexican general in Mexico. So fast forward to now, it's 2020, it's a new decade, I'll be 53 in next month. And I knew about Maharlika, very faintly about it. And this video is really also for the Maharlika people, the Maharlikan movement now, because from what I understand, there's about 10 million of those now, that are, and it's growing. So I'm very happy to be a part of it. Now, this was brought to my attention by a dear friend, dear childhood friend of mine, and he basically encouraged me to learn more about the Maharlika and what they were doing and his vision, and that's how I'm making this first video, because you can't just compress everything about Maharlika and yourself in just one video. So this is just the first of a series now. And it interweaves between my experience here in the US and in Canada. I've lived, this is my 18th year in the United States. And then in Canada, I lived for 13 years. So really, it's more than 3 decades, of my life I've been spent there, in this part of the world. And, it's been a great experience overall. The reason why why I live here, why I came over here, was primarily for my my parents. Like my dad at that time in the late 80s, right after the People Power EDSA revolution, felt that this there was just a lot of instability going on in the Philippines. I was a part of the the EDSA revolution. We were there, People Power and all that. We were in EDSA, and even before that, I remember when I was in high school, like when Ninoy Aquino was assassinated, we were out on the streets protesting against the then government of Ferdinand Marcos. So I was very active in that, and I didn't really understand until now, when this whole movement started really coming out. It's like, wait a sec, why is the Filipino, why are we as Filipinos, have this lack of identity, right? We're the only Christian nation, fully Christian nation. About 80% are Christians in Asia, so that's very unique. Now, the more I studied more about who I am, as I discovered myself too, through this journey of living here in the United States and in Canada, and seeing the difference. I lived long enough in the Philippines to understand and see the difference between the three countries. So I have a very good, unique perspective of knowing what it was like growing up in the Philippines, and then having firsthand experience of living here and making a career, making a life, and still identifying myself as a Filipino. But there's still something missing. And that part of it was part of my quest in discovering who I am. Who am I? Who is Mike Pestaño? Where did my name come from? Like, I wanted to get, the older I got, the more I wanted to understand truly, why the Filipinos have this kind of like lack of identity. Because when you look at history, they say that history, like the winners are the ones that write the history books. And for the most part, that is true. Because until now, really, until we Filipinos, I'd rather call myself Maharlikan. So let's just move forward with that. As Maharlikans, we actually had a very rich, vibrant history. We're not those, loincloth, bare-chested savages, as the so-called Spanish would, back then, chose to portray us, us as brown-skinned, inferior savages. And when you look at world history, and you see that the way Spain conquered not just the Philippines, but the Spanish Empire, how it was built on a combination of the Spanish army, the Spanish Empire, the government, and the church. So we got wiped out in terms of our deep culture, our heritage, who we are. We became subjugated. So when you become subjugated, for centuries, there's a change in the mental and emotional structure of our being, who we are. And I was wondering what was missing in me. It's like, I just took for granted, like, well, you Filipinos are great, like, you guys are so smart. There's a stereotype here in today's society. But it's only now that we're really beginning to realize, so wait a sec, we're not second class, citizens. We're not second class people, right? We're not just caregivers of the world. We don't just work in hospitals, we don't just work in hotels. We don't just work in the retail. Because coming here to North America, the thing that I remember before I left was there's this stigma, like for those that are in our home country that are elite, saying that's like why they couldn't understand why we had to leave. We had a very great comfortable lifestyle. My dad was the president was the general manager of Caltex Philippines at that time, so it's a very big American multinational oil company. So I grew up really having a very cushy lifestyle compared to the rest of the country, the rest of the population. And it's not that I didn't see the disparity. I mean, I could see it every day. It's just that I had a different perspective because I was living in a very comfortable life. Meaning that I went to the best schools. My parents had great jobs. My mom had a school, nursery school, and really, when you look at it, I belong to what we call the upper echelon of Philippine society, upper middle class. Right? And where did that start? That started way back, from centuries back. And the reason why today's Filipino feels like it's like there's this identity crisis, right? It's like even the community here, it's hard for us to pull together and support each other, primarily because of what happened in the past. Right, so not only were we colonized brutally, colonization is not, I don't know what other people think of it, but colonization, like when you look at history, there's nothing benevolent or peaceful or loving about colonization. Colonization it's violent. They subjugate you using religion. Re-educate you. It's basically encode new things into your brain so that you have no choice but to follow. So, and some people may disagree. Well, that's your perspective, but the way I'm looking at it is like, all the colonized nations, suddenly started discovering their identity and taking their names back. Like India, became independent from Great Britain, the United Kingdom, the British Empire, and so did many other countries. Like I remember that Burma, it's now called Myanmar. Well, guess what? They were a colony too. But I'm just going to focus on my heritage, right? Like when I look at my ancestry, my DNA, I am majority of my blood is from, is Filipino or Maharlikan, right? Like I have quite a bit of Chinese blood and a little bit of European. Somehow it got snuck in there. But who am I? I am Maharlikan. So what is Maharlikan? So I started doing more research, and it's the beauty of the internet is that we start seeing and discovering hidden truths. Now they say, well, how can you really understand, believe that it's the truth? Well, for me, my question is like, how can you really believe what is supposed to be the truth now? Because we're discovering a lot of fake stuff, like how media manipulates things, how government manipulates things, how even the Catholic Church, the great religions of the world have falsified a lot of information to hide from the general public. So that's the great equalizer now, is that we have the internet, we have the smartphone. I'm here recording this and talking to you about something that may be controversial because it is off the beaten path. Ay, kung ako nga, pinag-iisipan ko, sino ako? Bakit ganito ang pinag-iisipan ko ngayon? Ang lingwahe ko ay halo-halo. Tagalog at English. And of course, living here in the United States, I predominantly speak the English language, and then pagkasama ko mga kapwa Maharlikan ko, di yun, Tagalog. Pero sa araw-araw na mga kausap ko dito sa Amerika, o sa pagpupunta ko sa Canada, English. So where do we begin? So I think we begin by identifying ourselves, knowing ourselves, by going inwards. So when I say inwards, for me, it was like a journey personally of understanding my lineage, my direct lineage, like my mom and my dad, and my name. My name is, it's of Spanish origin, Pestaño. Now, my grandmother is Chinese. So my dad is I believe half Chinese. And so I have a quarter of Chinese blood. But coursing through my veins right now is Maharlikan blood. So when you start researching about Maharlika, there's a lot of things that I started discovering. And now there's this whole Maharlika movement. And that's why I'm speaking primarily to those who are here that just joined the Maharlika movement, because we have a lot of work. Marami tayong kailangan gawin para umahon sa ating panaginip. I call it this dream. Because we've been led to believe, maraming nagsinungaling sa atin na dumating ang mga praile, dumating ang mga conquistadore, at ang nakilala nila, the ones that they saw that greeted them, were mga savage, yung mga hindi sibilisado. Kasi iba suot natin, iba lingwahe, iba ang kulay. So, the difference in language, the difference in color, the difference in cultures. So the Spanish brutally suppressed that, as that throughout history is what happened. So now it's like, how do we get back our identity? Now, the Maharlikan movement, from what I understand, is growing 10 million plus, and there's more and more information about our true heritage, the richness of our culture, the richness of the land, the resources, and the reason why we got colonized. Colonization really it's about resources. It's not about spreading the word of God, really. That to me doesn't fly with me, because when you look at all the countries that have, the empires that have colonized the lesser nations, the Spanish, the British, the Japanese, America is not, it's not immune to that either. Italians, the Dutch, the Belgians, the colonization. What did they do? They introduced a new language, they introduced a new culture, a new system of government. Now we can decide to pick and choose which ones are good, which ones are bad, but for the most part, we basically, our own heritage got wiped out, and brutally. So we have to heal from that. So in order to really uplift and move forward, we have to be proud of who we really are, and really dissect itong mga emosyon na nasa loob natin na lumalabas na, because our spirit, our true voice is coming out. And for me, it's a personal journey of understanding who I really am and what my purpose is. Now, if you live in, my perspective here is it's pretty, not just unique, but it's common with those who have left the motherland and come here to America, or lived in a different countries. Like for me, I've lived in Canada, and I live here. So I learned a lot of things that I could help and bring back to the motherland, sa inyo, sa mga Maharlikan. And my specialty is in healing the mind and body, especially the body. Right? Because in our culture, the way we behave and our relation with our, with what we eat and what we drink has been influenced by the colonization. Right? Because we were secondhand citizens, We like there was this slack. It was ingrained into our DNA over centuries, and studies have shown that that when you oppress a civilization, the damage is passed on energetically in the cells. Like whether we believe it or not, it is true. There's a lot of violence and anger and sadness that is inside of us that we need to heal. And we seek to heal that through prayers, through the religion that was enforced on us, not of our own free will. It was enforced on us violently. So when something is enforced, into somebody violently, the scars are deep, and it spills over into how one behaves, how one thinks in today's world. The colonization of our ancestors left many scars, many deep scars. And part of what I do here now, as part of my new purpose for humanity to serve, is to help people with their own health. Like how to eat properly, exercise, take care of their body, and take care of their mind. So bakit importante ito para sa ating mga Maharlikan? Kasi kung hindi natin inaalagaan ang ating sarili, hindi tayo talagang magiging mayapa. Kasi dasal tayo ng dasal pero hindi naman tayo maaksyon, walang mangyayari. Kasi ang nangyari sa atin, what's happened, is that we've been bludgeoned, pinukpok sa atin na idaan nyo lahat sa dasal. Yes, there's benefits of prayer. Hindi ako kumakalaban sa ganyan sa pagdadasal o pananampalataya. Dahil ako mismo, pinagsikap ko. I studied how to become a more peaceful, more forgiving person without being afraid of repercussions because it was against the religion. And when you look at that, like for we as Maharlikans, we have to look at where can we start healing and developing a sense of identity of who and be proud. Right? Because look how proud we are. When we win beauty pageants, when we win athletic competition, when we are recognized for something, like new discoveries. Yes, it should be celebrated. Yes, it should be exalted. But it seems to me that there is this underlying insecurity and low self-esteem. And that's the reason why we are so proud and vociferously at it, especially, for example, Manny Pacquiao. Man, majority of the Filipinos worldwide are big Manny Pacquiao fans. Primarily because, yes, finally we have someone that is equal to or better than the white man. So the good things that I've learned here, I would like to share in the upcoming videos that I'll be sharing about becoming who we truly are. Kaya nagsulat ako ng dalawang libro about my healing journey. I wrote 2 books, that published it 2.5 years ago. The first book, I Am Enough. Ako ay sapat. I wrote in English, and the reason primarily I'm talking in English because it is now the universal language. But I will strive, pagsisikapin ko na kapag nagsasalita ako, ay hahaluan ko rin ang ating lengguwahe. Ang ating yung Tagalog, but knowing too that I actually have more, mas maraming akong dugo na Bisaya. Kasi yung aking ama ay taga Cebu. Yung mga kamag-anak ko ay taga Cebu. Ang nanay ko, my mom, ang kanilang probinsya ay sa Aklan. So, hindi ako talaga Tagalog. But because of the way the world is now, itong mundo ngayon, Tagalog ang lingwahe ng buong bansa na Pilipinas. But the changes that are happening in the Philippines, and the reason why, and this is maybe controversial for those who don't see it in a different perspective, is like, why did Duterte win? And to me, it's just like, why did Trump win here? It's because we discovered that the governments that are supposed to serve us are not serving us properly. That the disparity between the rich and the poor, mga mayaman at mahirap, in the especially in the Philippines, like, ano ba talaga nangyari sa, talaga bang umasenso? Like yung people power revolution na yan. To me, aktivista ako noon. Kaya when I start learning about all this hidden history and getting to understand how the media and the world governments manipulate the world, yung ating mundo na ito na akala natin it's like what you see is what you get. No, it is not kontrolado. So this movement is just perfect timing. The Maharlika movement, it's perfect timing that we are starting to discover ourselves. Kaya itong first video ko, it's maraming tanong, maraming kailangan pag-isipan natin sabay-sabay. Pero ang aking maibibigay sa inyo ay ang mga natutunan ko dito, what I have learned, in terms of how to treat your fellow human being, your fellow the world, the world that we live in, because there's so much we need to do. And the root of it all is to start healing ourselves by identifying the root cause of all this insecurity, all this not really knowing who we truly are. Because for me, sa akin, gusto ko talaga malaman, bago dumating ang mga taga-Espanya, yung mga conquistador at mga paring yan, ano ba talaga ang Maharlika? Because there's not that much yet. But I know it will come out. At yun ang sinabi sa akin nung kinausap ako tungkol sa Maharlika movement na to. When this movement, I learned about this movement because sa panaginip ko na to yung bago pa nag-umpisa itong Maharlika movement na to, before this Maharlika movement started, I had started questioning, in the past decade, that I wanted to really learn about who I truly am. Like, who is Michael Gonzalez Pestaño? I'm a human being, first and foremost. But sa dugo kong ito, dito sa buhay ko ngayon, pinanganak ako sa isla ng Maharlika. So doon ko kailangan mag-umpisa ulit. Mag-umpisa ang trabaho para maintindihan. To do the work. Not just to heal myself, but to help heal others. And what I've learned here, because on my own personal journey, as I will share, I almost died, several years ago because I didn't take care of my body. I didn't take care of my mind. And I didn't take care of my spirit. So these are the things I can start sharing with the Maharlikans. And this one video is not going to be enough. It's going to be a series of videos that I want to do on a weekly basis. And we start asking these hard questions. Because the way to the truth is when you start opening your mind beyond the beliefs that have been programmed into us, into you. To deprogram, to unlearn, learn, and relearn. Now we have to have that open mind. And the reason I got this way of thinking, this behavior, was through my education at Ateneo de Manila and at De La Salle. So there are what we call, there's the good things, there's the not so good things, but really it's all about experience. So in this life, sa buhay na ito, hindi natin dapat sabihin na ayoko itong nangyari sa akin, kaya papakawalan ko na lang. No. Everything that happens in your life is there to teach you, teach us, to learn, teach us a lesson, become better. It's experience. We gain wisdom from it. But we have to open our minds and our hearts to question. Because you don't really have freedom if you are not allowed to think freely, to speak freely. Right? Where we don't respect other people's viewpoints, we don't respect other people's ideas. Right? And that's where the religion part has failed us. Because nilagay tayo sa kahon. Right? And sinabi sa atin na kailangan mo gawin ito, okay lang yan lahat, basta nandito ka lang sa kahon na ito. But what I learned at the Ateneo de Manila, first thing I learned was, sinabi ng aking guro, is na follow the Socratic method. So what is the Socratic method? Socrates, the great philosopher of Greece, always ask questions. Yun rin ang sinabi ng pari sa akin, ng Jesuit na mga professor. Always ask questions. So I took that deep. I accepted that deeply and said, you know what? That is the best thing that I ever learned, outside of all the other great things that I learned in the educational system that I grew up in. Yes, there were some not so good experiences, but it is what it is. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those experiences. So never regret anything that's happened in your life. So what I learned was just to always ask questions and to not just believe what someone else says as the truth. Because as we're learning now, the truth of the matter is, the fact is, we Maharlikans are freaking amazing. We are incredible, and we just really need to pass that on and heal the broken parts of us. And where do we begin? Well, we can't just do it alone. I mean, I learned, what I'd like to impart to help people be proud of being Maharlikan. And that's why for me, I posted on my Facebook that I rejected my slave Filipino name. Like Filipino, okay, yes, we have to use it because that's what the world has so far runs on, that we are known as Filipino. But that doesn't mean we can't change that paradigm. Because look at Myanmar. It used to be Burma. It used to be such a poor country. They took back. Now, they used to be Burma. And look at all these other countries that have really become who they truly are. So we are more than what we think we are. Way more. Way more. And the way for us to really uplift ourselves is to not just be comfortable with at where we are at this point, because We are far greater than we think we are. Far, far greater. The Maharlika nation is far, far greater, far, far bigger, far, far richer. Our culture, we are. So let's discover together. Let us heal together. And in the next video series, episodes, I'll talk more about it. But this is just an introduction. You know, it's January 4th, 2020. I just finished doing my grocery shopping here. And I would love to have more of you guys come and subscribe, and we start this conversation about being a Maharlikan. All right? So this is Mike Pestano, Iron Eagle Mike. You guys can click the like, subscribe button, and share this. And I'd love to meet all of you in Maharlika sometime very soon to build a great city for humanity, a great civilization, a better civilization. All right, I love you all. Peace out. See you soon.